20 years. Because fossil fuels supply about 85% of the world's total energy, peaks in these fuels virtually ensure that the world's energy supply will begin to shrink within a few years, regardless of any efforts that are made to develop other energy sources. Nor does the matter end with natural gas and coal. Once one lifts one's eyes from the narrow path of daily survival activities and starts scanning the horizon, a frightening array of peaks comes into view. In the course of the present century, we will see an end to growth and a commencement of decline in all of these parameters: population, grain production, total and per capita, uranium production, climate stability, fresh water availability per capita, arable land and agricultural production, wild fish harvests, yearly extraction of some metals and minerals, including copper, platinum, silver, gold, and zinc. The point of this book is not to go systematically through these peak and decline scenarios one by one, offering evidence and pointing out the consequences, though that is a worthwhile exercise, and it is instructive to contemplate a few graphs showing the general trends. Some of these peaks are more speculative than others. Fish harvests are already in decline, so this one is hardly arguable. However, projecting extraction peaks and declines for some metals requires extrapolating current rising rates of usage many decades into the future. The problem of uranium supply beyond mid-century is well attested by studies, but has not received sufficient public attention. Nevertheless, the general picture is inescapable. It is one of mutually interacting instances of overconsumption and emerging scarcity. Our starting point, then, is the realization that we are today living at the end of the period of greatest material abundance in human history, an abundance based on temporary sources of cheap energy that made all else possible. Now that the most important of those sources are entering their inevitable sunset phase, we are at the beginning of a period of overall societal contraction. This realization is strengthened as we come to understand that it is no happenstance that so many peaks are occurring together. They are all causally related by the historic reality that for the past 200 years, cheap, abundant energy from fossil fuels has driven technological invention, increases in total and per capita resource extraction and consumption, including food production, and population growth. We are enmeshed in a classic self-reinforcing feedback loop. Increased extraction of other resources and production of food and other goods leads to population growth, which in turn leads to higher energy demand, to more fossil fuel extraction, to more available energy, and back again to increased extraction of other resources and production of food and other goods. Self-reinforcing feedback loops sometimes occur in nature. Population blooms are always evidence of some sort of reinforcing feedback loop, but they rarely continue for long. They usually lead to population crashes and die-offs. The simple fact is that growth in population and consumption cannot continue unabated on a finite planet. If the increased availability of cheap energy has historically enabled unprecedented growth in the extraction rates of other resources, then the coincidence of peak oil with the peaking and decline of many other resources is entirely predictable. Moreover, as the availability of energy resources peaks, this will also affect various parameters of social welfare: per capita consumption levels, economic growth, easy, cheap, quick mobility, technological change and invention, political stability. All of these are clearly related to the availability of energy and other critical resources. Once we accept that energy, fresh water, and food will become less freely available over the next few decades, it is hard to escape the conclusion that while the 20th century saw the greatest and most rapid expansion of the scale, scope, and complexity of human societies in history, the 21st will see contraction and simplification. The only real question is whether societies will contract and simplify intelligently or in an uncontrolled, chaotic fashion. Good news?